So welcome back to another episode of Prop Sessions. Today we have the lovely Amanda on, who is the founder of Content for Estate Agents. What they do is provide instant on-demand content for estate agents. Today we're going to go into all things content. We're going to go into what they do as a company. We're going to be, hopefully getting some tips that estate agents can take away from this and actually go and implement into their own business as well. So without further ado, Amanda, I'd love to welcome you onto the podcast.
Hi, Yves. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me on. I'm really excited.
Glad, me too. So I think one of the things I want to dive into first is content, shockingly. But actually, what I want to talk about is, I've really been seeing your content lately. It's really been popping up and it's really been catching my eye. It's clear that you actually practice what you preach, which is something I personally love, people who actually practice what they preach. What's, your personally for you, for the business, what is your personal approach to creating content?
For my personal business, you mean, or for others?
So I'd love to more hear about your actual thought process behind creating content. So before we go into the content that you actually make for estate agents, what is, your process to actually making content in the first place? And the reason I ask is I think a lot of people find it a little bit daunting, they know they should be creating it, but just have no idea where to start. And I'd love to hear your kind of thoughts behind that.
Well, I think for a lot of people, it's hard to know, it's hard to be creative, I suppose, because, we're not all blessed with being creative. And some of us find it hard to think about, what we should be adding to our social media or to our blog pages or our news pages or whatever. And that's when it kind of gets a little bit overwhelming and starts to feel really daunting, because you kind of get into the mindset that I've got to post something. And that's when people start posting things that are really not relevant and nothing to do with their actual target audience. And so like you say, I do practice what I preach. And I feel it's really important for me to not only add something to my social media and to my blog really consistently, but it has to be relevant content that is actually going to make people engage and bring people to me. And that's exactly what estate agents should do as well. So I find that it really helps I'm looking for inspiration all over the place, all of the time. And it's funny because actually just this morning, I just posted, it's just a little snippet. It's not even about content particularly. It's not really related to estate agents, but it's something that will probably resonate with a lot of people. And I recently bought a new MacBook, and I was just messing about with it, and I suddenly realized that there's this touch bar thing on it. And if I type a certain word, an emoji pops up. And I just got really excited about the fact that this amazing thing was available to me, because I use emojis a lot. And so I posted about that on LinkedIn. And actually I added it to my Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Because it's something, it's not boring. It's just a light-hearted little thing that I thought of. And the inspiration came from that, just from me literally using my laptop. So it's actually quite easy to find topics and little bits of creativeness all around you. But usually people aren't looking for them. That's what happens. So it's not as hard as people think to create, particularly for social media. It's not as hard as people might think to, just pick up little snippets that are interesting to other people. That was a bit long-winded.
It's really funny because I know the exact post you're talking about because I just saw it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I use a MacBook myself, and the first thing I did was I went and actually looked, and I didn't notice that it did that either on the touch bar.
I know, it's amazing.
And I guess that is really interesting, because I think one of the challenging parts of creating content is you obviously you want it to be valuable in some sense, but then I guess value is kind of brought about in different ways, and I guess that relatability is something that maybe is like you said, it's not difficult to do. It's just kind of looking for it. So I guess
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get to is there some kind of split that you should have between different types of content, or do you, the way you look at content, do you look at it as different categories of content, and how do you go about that?
Prop Sessions is brought to you by Prop Media, who partner with agents to generate 50 exclusive seller and buyer leads every single month on autopilot. That's guaranteed, or you get your money back. If you're interested in trying out Prop Media risk-free, head over to www.propmedia.co.uk to book a call today. Now.
Well, I try and split mine. So I post on my blog once a week. So, and that's usually a tip or something really valuable. Because if someone's going to take the time to read an entire blog post, which is normally only about a 2 or 3 minute read anyway, but still that person has got to be engaged enough to, use those 3 minutes and read it. I feel that should be where the value is, because obviously they're bothering to take the time to read, so make it something worthwhile for them to read. So blog posts in particular, I normally make sure they're valuable. They've got a tip in, or how to do something, or a piece of information that the reader can literally go, oh yeah, I didn't know how to do that, and now I can do that, or oh yes, that's a good idea. So something valuable. When it comes to social media, I think the split is slightly different. So yes, you do need value posts, but if people continually see posts where you are kind of combining that value with trying to sell to them, that's not going to work. So yes, you do need to sell, because the whole point is, you're running a business and you want to get sales, or you want to get clients. But you need to do it really, really subtly. And the way to do that, again, is to offer that value, but without being salesy. But then in between those value posts, then you add the little personal bits, and like the emoji posts that I've just talked about, and maybe a bit of personal information about yourself as well, so that you become really relatable. And that's the way, show your personality, because that's the way, at the end of the day, that you are going to get clients. So I roughly would try and split it normally about 80-20. So 80% not selling or anything salesy at all, very loosely related to my target audience. And then the other 20% is going full on in with valuable stuff, and also testimonials as well. They work really well on social media. So I try and, within that 20%, I try and get in the testimonial and the value, and a tiny bit of really subtle selling as well. So yeah, it's quite a small amount, to be honest.
Brilliant. And so with this, content platform that you've created, when you first, and how long have you been doing it now? Is it a couple of years you've been?
No, well, I've been working with estate agents for a number of years, and I've been writing content for over 15 years. But the subscription site, the content for estate agents, that's I started that. Well, I launched it back in January, so it's a fairly young kind of side to the business at the moment, but it really took off. So there's obviously a demand for it. So yeah.
And so obviously you've got so much experience writing content. What was the reason for actually starting content as more of a subscription business for estate agents specifically?
Yeah, well, I always knew there was a demand for content, obviously, because I'd been doing that previously. And I've been working with estate agents, and I've noticed that there were a lot of abandoned kind of blogs out there. So, I'd land on an estate agent's website and it would look lovely, beautifully, all singing or dancing. And then there'd be this little tab and it would say blog or news. And I'd go there and it would just be, tumbleweed. So I realized that there was a need for content for estate agents, but I also knew that just because of the nature of the business, that they weren't going to be prepared to pay huge amounts for content each month. It needed to be a really affordable option, and it needed to be something that they could access really easily, 24/7 really, so they could kind of dip in and dip out. And because estate agents are busy people, it's very rare that they're actually at their desks because they're out at valuations and whatever. So doing it via a subscription site seemed to be the best way forward, because I could make it affordable, and I could make it easy to access for them. And it turned out to be the right way to go about it. Although I do bespoke stuff as well, but the subscription model seemed to work really well.
Brilliant. So do you find that with that subscription model, because one of the challenges that I guess we have over what we do is we obviously provide everything and it's essentially done for you, but then getting sometimes, even once they've paid for it, getting them to actually fully utilize it is even then kind of another hurdle that I find. Do you find anything like that with you?
It's definitely a hurdle, because they subscribe and they're really revved up and ready to go. But I just have to constantly remind them really to get in there, download your content. I don't want them paying and not using it. That, defeats the whole object. So yeah, it is a bit of a continual uphill battle, even once they've subscribed. But having said that, I do keep in touch weekly with every subscriber, and they get prompts. And as soon as new articles are uploaded, which happens once a month, they get an email. So, there's various things that I'm doing throughout the month to make sure that they are utilising it. And actually, once they get into a kind of routine and see the results, they're way more inclined to actually carry on with it. And then it does become part of the routine, and it is something that they do regularly. But it does take a few weeks for them to kind of get going.
For sure. So on another note, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see estate agents making? And it can be content, doesn't have to be, just generally at the moment. What are some of those, big pitfalls you see them falling into?
Well, the biggest mistake by far is that estate agents know that they need to get new clients and win those instructions, but they kind of concentrate on they'll put content out there, but it's not actually concentrating on winning new instructions. It's more aimed at advertising the properties that they already have on their books, and that's great. Obviously they want buyers as well, but so they'll advertise properties, and all they'll do is just add a listing of a property to, let's say, LinkedIn or to Facebook or Twitter or wherever, whichever social media platform. And then instead of linking to their website to that property, they'll link to Rightmove. So they're just basically giving all the traffic away that they could have got to their website, and people could have gone straight there and looked at the whole of their website and seen exactly what they do. They've given that immediately away to Rightmove, and Rightmove doesn't need any more traffic. Give it to yourself, not to them. Why are you promoting them? So that's a huge mistake, just not knowing really what to post and quite how it works. And that there's no point in just sending traffic to listings, because you want to, at the end of the day, an estate agent wants to become the go-to agent in their area. And the way that they can do that is to showcase themselves as the knowledgeable expert. And just by adding property listings to social media, that is not going to show them as an expert. All that does, it shows them that they've got houses for sale, which isn't going to wash, unfortunately. So yeah, that I would say that's the biggest mistake, definitely.
It's funny. It reminds me, I was on a call with a client a couple of days ago, and we were just looking at their SEO, just to have a little look at it, and we just Googled their estate agent's name, and they didn't even come up on page one for their own name, and all of the portals were coming up first. And they were shocked, and they obviously, you would assume you would just come up for your own name, but actually all of those portals were going there because actually a lot of their traffic was just going straight to those portals. And It's an interesting one because it's such an easy fix, I guess, if you're talking about a listing, just to put it back to your own site and collect that data.
So easy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of one of the mistakes you see with content, just posting listings. So, if say, you're a busy estate agent, you're posting your listings up, what else, if there was kind of just a step one, just to say, okay, look, maybe you're not going to get 100% there, but you can get maybe 20-30% just to kind of dip your toes in, maybe build up a little bit of momentum. What should they be posting if they were to just do the kind of minimum amount to get them started?
Even if they just posted a blog post on their actual website once a week and then linked to that from their social media accounts, that would be like the bare minimum, which is not going to take very long to do that. And that blog post can be of anything of value, basically. You don't have to necessarily, be posting 2 or 3 times a day on social media to your website to get the momentum started. Any momentum can be gained just from making sure that you've got fresh content happening at some point, even once a week to start with, to just start moving you up the Google rankings online and bringing more traffic in that way to the website. So, it's not an easy fix because obviously you still got to create a blog and actually post it, but that's where I come in, so that makes it super simple. But yeah, that's where I would say to start, definitely, just to get a little bit of momentum.
Got it. Yes, and I think that instantly just kind of takes the pressure off a little bit to say, okay, look, one blog post a week.
Yeah.
It's not gonna cost the earth. It's not gonna take a ton of time. So then, with those blog posts, what should they be like? Obviously, content is there's unlimited, but should it be? Are you kind of thinking more local content for their particular market? What kinds of things do you look at?
Yeah, it helps if it's local, obviously, because estate agents are a local commodity. They are in a service industry within the local area that it's, unless they're a big national company, a big national agency. But even then, they're little, they're localized, even if they're a national or a corporate agency or whatever. So, yeah, I've forgotten what the question was. Sorry. What was the original question? Oh yeah, I've remembered. Sorry, because I was thinking about what to say. Yeah, it should be local content. And yeah, it should be personalized to the agent and obviously to the area, because that's where the target audience is. Topic wise, it needs to be on content that is of interest to that local area. So it could be based on around a specific event or attraction or something that is happening within the local area. But the problem with that is it's fine doing that for a one blog post or whatever, or one social media post, but that's not evergreen content. So as soon as that event or attraction isn't there anymore, then that blog post is kind of a little bit wasted. So the content really needs to be as evergreen as possible. So by that, I mean that it needs to be written about a topic that is always going to be of interest to the target audience, which are home buyers or home movers. Those people are always looking for interesting and informative information. So, for example, we research all our blogs, articles before they get uploaded to the site. We know that the content that we provide is actual content that people are already searching for. So, for example, we know that people who are moving home search for how to move home with a cat. Which sounds really weird, but it's a topic that is searched for on Google. So if you're an estate agent and you have got an article based around how to move home with a cat, then you're going to come up in that search for that area. And then people are going to realize that, oh, they're quite knowledgeable, you know, and they'll go and check you out, and that's how you win the business. So yeah, it needs to be local, valuable, but it also needs to be highly relevant.
Got it. So you got to make sure that the research is also done prior, you know, whether you're looking at search volumes and things like that, to make sure actually what people want to know about.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point in just posting, you know, there's no point in plucking a topic out of thin air just because you think it would be a really good topic to write about. It has to be relevant to the target audience. Otherwise it's not going to work. Nobody will see it if it's, you know, just a random topic that, you know, it has to be researched, definitely.
And I guess actually that makes it, again, much more, because I'm just putting myself in the, you know, the mind of an estate agent. You know, they might not necessarily think of themselves as a creative type or as a writer, but actually if you then think, okay, well, let's just start from the end, if we kind of reverse engineer it, rather than sitting there and thinking, we have to come up with something to post today. How about just going, all right, well, what do people actually want to see? What do they need? And then creating it based on that need.
Yeah.
I think actually it then makes it so much easier because you're following a little bit of a path that you know.
And you already know what they want. So, you know, it's easy to write about things that you know people want, especially if you've been chatting with people as well. You know, if you're in your estate agency and you're talking to a client, and I spoke to an estate agent last week actually, and he said, oh, we get loads of people come in and they're always asking for information on how they should prepare their home when they're going to put it on the market. And I said, well, great. Do you know, have you got a blog post about that or an article? Have you got a little e-guide or something that you can send them so that they know what to do? And he was like, oh, no, we haven't. So there's an obvious piece of content right there that someone, somebody who is a client had actually, you know, handed to them on a plate, but they still hadn't done anything about it. So now we're doing it for them. But, you know, it's great. But little things like that, you know, estate agents need to listen to their clients as well, because that's what I mean when I say, you know, there's creative ideas all around you just have to listen and then flip them slightly, and then you've got a great piece of content right there, you know. But I know it's hard for people that aren't particularly creative, because they don't think like that, you know, and we can't all be good at everything, you know, and if creativity isn't your thing, then yeah, it's always going to be slightly harder.
No, I think that's real absolute gold though, because I think by looking at it or just, you know, listening to what their clients are saying, and I'm sure actually a lot of the time, if, you know, estate agents just think back at what are the common things that keep coming up when we're doing either viewings or doing valuations or along the process, and I'm sure even just having a little think, that would open up lots of different ideas for content. And I guess it's looking at it from almost a problem solving approach. You know, what issues do they have? And it's probably, I guess it's probably stuff that they're talking about a lot of the time anyway. Like that example you gave, I think is a perfect example of questions that, you know, their vendors might be asking or their landlords might be asking. And then just using that for content. So I guess like you said, it's just looking for it and just having your mind a little bit open to it. But I think that's a really, really great place to start for a lot of estate agents. Just, well, the people I'm talking to every day, it doesn't necessarily require any more effort.
It doesn't, because they're already having that conversation. And if an estate agent can solve a problem or answer a question within a piece of content, then, you know, you're halfway there already. You just got to write it then, you know. So, you know, that's the easy bit really.
And with content, one of the things I wanted to ask you, obviously I know a lot of the content you provide is obviously blog driven, which is really going to help with, you know, the value piece, and it's going to help bring you know, SEO, it's going to help bring organic ranking. What are your thoughts on the different mediums of content? So if you've got, you know, written, image, video, do you see any kind of trends? Do you have any preferences with types of content that you like estate agents to have?
I think it should be split really between all of those that you've just mentioned. So written content is great, and that's what we that's our niche. So that's always going to be top of the list for me. But video is super important. because people have less time now. So particularly, you know, on social media, if someone can watch a quick video rather than having to read something, then that's great. But that's why, you know, we always say that the content that we provide, it can be repurposed. So you can literally use that blog post and turn it into a video really, really easily, because all the content's there. You've just got to either speak it to camera or make a little PowerPoint thing or whatever, you know, so it can be repurposed. But yeah, there definitely needs to be a mix of different types of media. And I have one client who he always posts on his blog. He does that without fail once a week. He also makes a video he'll take a part of that blog that he's posted and he'll make a video on just one little tiny bit of that, basically. Then he'll post to social media. And actually, he's been really innovative. And what he did was he gathered lots of different blog posts up, and he collated them all into it's like a printed guide, and he got them distributed via his local newspaper, so using the blogs that we'd written for him. So there's loads of different things that you could do, and if you can do all of them, fantastic. But obviously online is what I would say. You need to be online the most, because that's where everybody is, you know. But that's not to say that the newspaper isn't still going to, you know, bring you a little bit, as would other printed materials, to be honest. So yeah, there needs to be a split through them all.
Got it. And again, that's such an ingenious tip there, to be able to take the content you provide, repurpose it across however many really platforms you want. The sky's your limit. And I guess that then gives them, you know, an extra week or 2 weeks worth of content if they're talking about certain bits from what you've already created. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it can be used anywhere really, and you can split it how you like as well. You know, once the content is downloaded on your subscription, once the content is downloaded, it's yours to do whatever you like with. So you can, you know, the copyright kind of passes over. So yeah, you can do anything with it, repurpose it however you like, be innovative and creative.
So they could use that to go and make a video content. They could use that if they wanted to create posts on social media. If they wanted to create an e-guide to attract new customers in as well. They could print that out and go and give that to prospects as well. If they want local information, they could even send out letters with it as well, if it's
or an e-letter, newsletter. It could go into that as well, and it can be edited. So if they want to add or take bits away, then, you know, that's what they can do. So it's all really flexible. It just saves so much time, you know, because this is the thing that I hear every day talking to estate agents. I haven't got time, you know, and I get it. They are busy people trying to grow their businesses. And so unfortunately content does end up, you know, at the bottom of the pile, because sadly a lot of estate agents feel it's not that important, but it is important, because it's a long-term marketing strategy that can just carry on in the background, you know. But it does require patience. It's not an overnight magic bullet, you know. It does need work and a little bit of effort.
That's interesting what you said there. Some of the agents that you speak to then, do they genuinely feel that it's not important, or do they? Because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What I generally hear is that they know it's important, but they, you know, mainly because of time is the main excuse, at least, that they'll give not for doing it. Do you find that some of them still do think, actually, you know, this isn't important for my business? Or
I think probably I would rephrase it and say they don't think it's as important enough. So I think that's probably a better way of putting it. So, I mean, there are some that don't think it's important, because I think, but that is usually the more really well-established agencies that have been going for years and years and years, and they feel like they're just, you know, trotting along quite nicely, nice little comfort zone, and they don't need it. But what usually happens is that agents they understand that they need the content and they need to do the content marketing. but it's not a priority for them, because their priority is going out on the market appraisals, making sure that, you know, people are buying the properties that they've got on their books, and they're forgetting that this can simply just, you know, carry on in the background, nicely low level, you know, just ticking away. And because they've tried it, and because they haven't had that instant, you know, influx of clients, they're like, oh, well, you know, that didn't really work. I can't really, what's the point in me doing that? And that's why it becomes more unimportant to them. But it's not a short-term thing. It's a long-term thing that has to be done consistently. And if more estate agents can understand that, then I think that's when we'll see more estate agents actually starting to consistently publish content again.
You know, and I hear that all the time about, you know, of course, everybody wants instant results, right? Well, that's how we're geared to want them. But one of the ways I think about it is with this content that's going out, you can produce something now, and you may get engagement straight away, you may get inquiries straight away, but actually that content is still there in 12, 24 months time. And actually somebody might find you all that way into the future. And I almost imagine it as, you know, estate agents have all different ways of marketing and outreach, whether it's, you know, calling, emailing, going through databases, running adverts, and all of these things. But actually the thing is with content is it's essentially free, or if you use a service like yourself, it's very, very affordable for pretty much any estate agent.
Yeah.
So for next to, you know, for a very small amount, or by doing it themselves, you're actually getting all of these kind of opportunities to get in front of people and give people a reason to want to come back to you, and that's there forever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I think, sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, I think that's one of the things that estate agents forget. They think that once that blog post is published, it's there for, you know, a week, and then that's it, it's done. But it's not. It's there, and actually research has shown that things like blog posts, if they're written on a topic that people are searching for, they build and build and build momentum. So actually the older they get, the better, really, because the more momentum they achieve, and the more views they achieve, and the more they get out there. So that's the whole point of the evergreen content as well, to make sure that, you know, if somebody does find your blog, you know, your blog post a year down the road, that it's still going to be relevant and accurate. So yeah, it's something that isn't thought about and should be.
So I guess content's like a fine wine, it gets better with age.
Yeah. Good analogy. Yeah. Definitely.
So besides content, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because I know obviously you have a lot of estate agents that you speak to. What else should they be doing more of in your view?
As well as aside from content, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, they need to just be more in tune with their community and their local area. You know, from my experience, estate agents like to be seen as, they like to be known in their area, but they actually don't give themselves a reason to be known in their area, if that makes sense. You know, they want to be known as the go-to estate agent, but why should somebody choose them as the go-to estate agent? So they need to get out there into their community, and actually, I'm not talking about, you know, necessarily supporting, you know, local charities or schools or anything like that, although that is a way of doing it. You know, I know some estate agents do sponsor events and things like that, but you don't necessarily have to do that. It's just about being seen to be knowledgeable and helpful within that local community. And some of that does come through content, obviously, because that's a way to get it out there. But just be visible, you know, if you've got a high street branch, I know it's a bit difficult at the moment because obviously with restrictions, with COVID, etc., you know, it's hard. But, you know, make your agency a welcoming place for people to go, that they know that they can not only just, you know, just come in because they want to instruct you or to buy a property, but knowing that you will welcome them at any time and offer them advice with no obligation. It's all about showing personality and not being overly salesy, even face to face. Just showing that you're a friendly, normal person that can help them.
Yeah, and I guess by doing that, it kind of has the, you know, just by giving that advice away, or giving that genuine help. I think, just like you were saying with your content, where the vast majority of it isn't sales focused, it's just value based or relatability based. I think people, particularly nowadays, and maybe even more so online, maybe not, they can feel when you're being genuine with what you're giving across, and when you don't really need something in return. But the crazy thing is that I guess I've noticed is that when you do that without that expectation of anything back, it comes back more anyway.
Actually, yeah, of course it does. Yeah. Sometimes too much effort is just too much. It just, you look like you're really trying too hard, and it's just far better to just go with the flow and be natural, and that's the way the business comes. Showing your personality is, in my opinion, one of the main ways that you will get business, because if people like you, and if people think, oh yeah, she's normal, or he's great, or, you know, God, he wasn't pushy at all, or, you know, oh, they gave me this and it was free and they didn't even try and sell me anything, you know, that's when you're going to get the business. Same with the content, you know, and that's why I suggest that you don't, that's why I suggest you add your personal posts to your content. It doesn't have to be all corporate and businessy. And actually, that's another thing. It used to be that if you were in business, you had to be, you know, really corporate and stiff upper lip, and, you know, this is this and this is that. But it's not like that anymore. I think the more kind of relaxed you are, and the more laid back you are, and the more go with the flow you are, the more people will come, because you're not being uptight and corporate, if that makes sense. I might have tarred everyone with the same brush there, but you know what I mean? It's like, you know, if you can be natural and relaxed, people are more likely to gravitate towards you, I think.
Yeah, completely. And I guess that's the thing, is there's two ways. You've got that in person when you actually go around and meet them, but then you've got that in your content as well, which is, what we're seeing is that the seller's journey is starting so much earlier now as well. We're seeing that now people are actually researching, you know, 1-2 months ahead, really looking online, looking at estate agents' websites, looking at their blog, looking at their content, their social media. So oftentimes, a lot of that impression is already formed before they've even met. You know, the fact that somebody has decided to call up an estate agent or to get in touch, a lot of the time we're seeing that they've already got an idea that they want to work with them because of what they've seen.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I guess just from an educational part of this, to help estate agents realize how important content is. If you just look at it in terms of generating valuations, which is always going to be top of the list, you know, for obvious reasons, if you can increase that, you know, valuation rate, that valuation to instruction rate, by having all of that groundwork already done for you, all the heavy lifting, by the time you walk up to their house, they already like you, because I guess they've seen your relatable content. They already know that you know what you're talking about, because they've seen your local, local content on the market and what's going on. So then at that point, it's really just about meeting in person. And
it's about living up to the expectation then of what you've put on your website, basically. So as long as you can smile and you know, show that you're a normal, friendly person, then, you know, you got it in the bag really by that point. And that would be, you know, that's the aim, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's just kind of showing how much is in, you know, how much benefit there is to actually doing it. It's not just getting more engagements and getting more impressions and seeing your Google Analytics on your site, see the users climb. That's amazing, because that's instant feedback, which then helps to build that momentum. But then actually, when you start realizing your in-person conversations going better and everything translating through to the physical side of the business as well, then wow, it's, you know, that I guess that makes it so much easier to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're an estate agent and you turn up to somebody's house and you're gonna do a market appraisal, and you just stand there and you just waffle on about how amazing your office is and how many awards your team won last year, and that you're amazing, and it's all ego, that's going to turn your client off straight away. And it's the same with content. So it's far better to turn up and have a normal conversation with your prospective client about schools in the area, or how wonderful their garden looks, or what they could potentially do to their house to make it even more saleable. That's what they're going to want to hear. They don't want to know that you've won an award, or that you've got a squashy sofa in your office, so it's a great place to come to when they're signing their paperwork. They don't want to know any of that. And so if estate agents can take their egos away from their content and from when they're talking to people directly, that's when they'll win more instructions. It's as simple as that, really.
Absolute gold. Definitely going to make a clip out of that. All right, cool. So to close up, I've got a couple of questions, a little bit different, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. So within the property industry, we all have pet peeves, things that we dislike about it, things that we love about it. What's one of your pet peeves about the property industry as a whole?
Oh no, that's a really difficult question. As a whole,
or it can be individually. However,
no, do you know what I think it is, actually? I think, and actually it does it relates to words, because that's my thing. But when I see property listings, they're just so boring. Like, I don't write property listings. I probably could write property listings, but I've never it's not something that I do, because content is my thing. But I see property listings and they're all the same, and they're just all so boring. And it's just like, good sized bedroom. I mean, what's a good sized bedroom? And what's good sized? Or I can't think of anything off the top of my head now, but the words are also boring. They're not creative. They're not creative listings. There's one estate agent that I know that does really, really good listings, and they're just engaging and they're interesting. But all my local agents around here, they're all the same. They all write the same thing. I think they must go to listing school or something and get told to, but it's just one after the other, exactly the same. So yeah, that would be my biggest peeve. The fact that listings are boring and they don't necessarily sell the house that's being shown, if that makes sense.
We are delighted to bring to the market this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, semi-detached house.
Yeah.
3.5 kilometers from the local train station, 1 mile away. Getting contact now to book a viewing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one word, and I can't even remember what it is now, because you caught me on the hop with this question. And it's always used. It's something like, it's not like exclusive location. I can't remember what it is, but it's a word that every estate agent uses in every single listing. I just can't think what it is, but yeah.
Like perfectly located or something like that.
Desirable location or something like that, I think it is. That not everything is in a desirable location, but they just use it for everything. So yeah, property listings, yeah, no, don't like them.
That's so interesting though, because I, obviously see a lot of listings, and they are mostly very, very similar. And again, thinking about it, where do they actually learn to write listings? And I'd love to see that from you. Some advice on how to write good listings, along with your content. Do you think that's something that because pardon?
It's worth thinking about, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, because imagine if you can say, we can increase your conversion rate on listings by this much by having good content. Well, suddenly that's really exciting to hear, right? How to stand out from all. Yeah,
because I'm not really sure who writes the listings for estate agents. Is it normally a task that would be just given to one of the I don't know, one of the negotiators, or I don't know really. I suppose it, and there, if it is, then yeah, because there wouldn't be a dedicated person that would just write property listings, I'm guessing. So if the task is given to the negotiator, then they might not necessarily be very good at writing, you know, descriptions. So that's why I suppose they all turn out the same, because they use the template from every other listing. That's why they're always the same.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is being an estate agent is essentially being really good at marketing, right? You market to get your properties on to attract houses, and then you market the property to sell it. So actually, a huge portion of their job is marketing, writing content, getting the properties out there. Yeah, at the same time, when are they taught marketing, or where's their help?
Well, they're not. Because actually it's seen as a sales job, isn't it? Not a marketing job, but actually it's a marketing job because there's so many different elements to it.
Yeah, that's actually real food for thought, actually, to end up with. And look, I just want to thank you for your time. I think this has been incredibly valuable. I think you've given away a lot of really, really valuable advice. I'm looking forward to getting this out to lots of estate agents who can go and implement this. And if you are an estate agent, listen to this, be sure to check out Amanda's website. It's content4.co.uk. Is that right?
Yeah, or content4.co.uk or contentforestateagents.co.uk. Either of those will get you to the website. Yeah.
Either will get you there. And I believe have you got a trial on there that people can go and check it out as well?
Free trial. Scroll halfway down the homepage and there's a free trial button. It's one article. You can have access to the whole article library, but you get one article absolutely free to do whatever you want with, really. So have that one on me, complimentary, and then hopefully you'll join after that when you see how good it is.
There we go. That's a really, really generous offer. Go check it out. You've got absolutely nothing to lose, and you'll probably get some really nice content from it as well. Make sure to link it everywhere as well so people can find that. Thanks very much.
No, thanks, Eves.